Well, we come along to Groudle Glen, and of course, as it says here, it's a Manx National Glen. With me is Garth MHK, Daphne Caine. You've got to be in your bonnet about this one, because certainly things, and we've just walked it, by the way. That was pretty interesting, because you made me walk it, because you said you wouldn't believe what you're going to see here. The footpaths are in terrible condition. Everything seems to be in decay down there. Over to you. What are you going to do about it?
Well, this week in the House of Keys, I asked both Minister for DEFA and Infrastructure, challenged them really to say would they investigate looking at acquiring it for the nation. This glen is unusual, although it's a national glen. It's actually mainly owned by Onken commissioners. Part of it falls into Garth, that side of the river. This side of the river is in Onken parish, but the bottom footpath is maintained under licence by the Department of Infrastructure from the landowner, which is part of the Groudle holiday cottages estate. So my suggestion isn't that government takes over the holiday cottages and the 1.9 million asking price for that, but perhaps this is the moment to say Onken commissioners lease it to DEFA to maintain their part of the footpaths, DOI maintaining the footpath under licence. Wouldn't it be a perfect time to challenge the government to say, why don't we acquire it for the nation and allow DEFA to take it under their comprehensive management and maintain it to the standard of the rest of the island's national glens?
How has it got to this stage, though? Is this because all the parties aren't talking together? No one's putting money in the pot, no one wants to actually take responsibility?
Well, I think there are issues with access. It's very steep. Now, the Victorian features of the water wheel, wheelhouse and also the bandstand, sadly, mesh fencing, all protecting them from anybody hurting themselves on there. But for me, a year ago we had a meeting with Onken commissioners, many like-minded people who are interested in maintaining this for heritage for the island. Spoke about getting a volunteer group together to maintain it. Now, after speaking with Pete Geddes, I was really happy that he's done a survey of the wheel. He thinks instead of the £200,000 quote that Onken Commission is saying is what a professional contractor would charge, and understandably with the issues of access, that with a volunteer workforce, some PPE equipment, some materials, that the wheelhouse structure could be removed, the base renewed, replaced, repositioning the access platform, and perhaps with some very keen people from the parish and with a fondness for this glen, perhaps do some hydroelectric link up and some additional feature to enhance the glen for all who use it.
I mean, let's be blunt about it. I mean, as much as it's beautiful, that water wheel doesn't actually do anything. It's just for show, right? Well, it goes back to the days when people paid to come in here,
well,
right, and to see things. Is it that?
No, initially I think it did get power, and it did power the hotel, that sort of thing, when it was first opened.
But that's long gone.
Long gone. And I mean, nobody's going to pay to come into the glen, but it should at least. My worry is if the commissioners are not prepared to invest ratepayers' money, because it's not a ratepayer facility, it's an all-island national glen, then shouldn't they transfer its ownership to government? Shouldn't government accept the challenges here, possibly work with a volunteer group, as they do very successfully with Beach Buddies, and allow the people who are interested to have an input and improve the glen? Well,
Onken commissioners, their chairman's been on saying that they're probably not going to be able to do anything with it. I mean, it's outside their remit. Probably the costs on the rates was going to be phenomenal, right? So they're not going to do it.
No, that would be on the professional contractor. The estimate for doing it through a volunteer group would be very much lower, but they were also questioning, they have no technical support to offer, they have no financial support to offer. They were even questioning what would be the benefit to ratepayers if there was an ongoing charge of maintenance long term. But from my perspective, this is one of the most used glens. It's got many lovely features. The footpaths are in terrible condition, probably need repositioning lower down. Even the access from the car park isn't very friendly, and it's the main access to a popular tourist amenity of the Groudle Glen Railway, also run by volunteers. What's the impact on their passengers?
Got to say, back to what you made me do the walk, that can't be right. I mean, that's presumably dangerous now for most people. We were doing it on a lovely day as well. That can't be how people are going to get here.
I had somebody tell me only this weekend they had to carry their 3-year-old up along the lower footpath to get to the trains, and now with the closure signs, although the footpath is open, the closure signs would direct you to the upper path, which DEFA have maintained and is in quite a good state. But the challenge I put to Geoffrey Boot as DEFA Minister, Environment Minister, you know, with the wonderful biodiversity, the biosphere reserve status that the Isle of Man is celebrating, it's not very diverse or good for the environment if that wheelhouse collapses and falls in the river.
It looks actually off-centre to me.
It's definitely leaning.
It looks like there's a lean going on. So it could, I mean, it's one of those things, if you have a big flood or something, it could just go, right?
Well, that's my fear. And also, if the commissioners are the owner and responsible for it, what's their contingency? There doesn't seem any budget either for removing the safe removal of either the wheelhouse or the bandstand, which is now fenced off.
Okay, well, you get a reputation for wanting to buy things up, since the police station in Castletown, that sort of thing. But this one is not. I mean, the big figure, this 1.9 to buy the Groudle cottages, that's, you think, is completely separate?
No, I think that's a red herring. I'm looking at, if Onken commissioners are wanting to offload the responsibility that they are the owner and they're responsible for the wheelhouse, but the Glen is leased to DEFRA, who do the maintenance anyway, and the commissioners' chairman seems to be very open to the idea of talking to DEFRA and perhaps coming to an arrangement. I wouldn't think that would be a significant sum. It would be a token amount for acquiring it for the nation. And I challenge the infrastructure minister, would he at least be prepared to investigate the possibility of acquiring the parts of the Glen that are in the holiday cottage estate, that the essential footpath to the car park and perhaps the land where the railway runs, so to make the complete Glen, put it into DEFRA for comprehensive management.
You've asked all the questions now. Where can you take this next? I mean, have you got the right answers from people, or any answers that you actually like?
There was no undertaking. I mean, perhaps there could be a motions table down for Tynwald, but I suppose what I'm really looking for is, what do the Isle of Man people want? Is this a very good advert in terms of our tourism product? And this is something that features very strongly in the photographic and video materials to promote the Isle of Man. It's one of the quirks. It's a beautiful Glen with the added attraction of volunteer-run railway.
Well, yeah, exactly. Volunteers, so like a Groudle Glen or the Pier and Ramsey, those sort of people getting together, like-minded, who want to do something about it, not putting it into government control and having a very expensive operation.
Yeah, well, I'm not looking for an expensive operation. I'm looking for a safe maintenance of the Glen, and if it can't be maintained or enhanced in terms of restoring the wheelhouse, if there isn't the support for that through the volunteers or the participation of the local authority, then at least I think it should be restored to its natural state and with safe access and safe footpaths.
Okay, well, this sign behind us says pedestrian access only. I would actually worry that is not. You probably need to be very well fit to be able to tackle that at the minute. Yeah.
And also, we're doing it on dry conditions, and it's a lot. It's more worrying, and it's probably more risky when it's wet and slippery.